things doing. So the minstrels of Chester. Don't underestimate these minstrels. I gotta set the scene by saying that in Chester, England, right around the Welsh border, and if you start getting too rained on, folks, we can just like abandon ship to over there and I can continue on. So just say the word and we'll
tell stories and
we'll run. Yes. All right. So in Chester, England, it's right up against the border with Wales, and as you may know, the English and the Welsh were always a little bit at odds about where the border should be and who should be in charge. So the very first Earl of Chester set up an abbey. He built an abbey like this, and in order to pay for it, he established a fair that would happen every year. And to get more patrons at this fair, he decreed that if you had a warrant out for your arrest, it could not be collected at the fair. So unless you committed a crime at the fair, you were safe. So as you can imagine, this fair drew all manner of ruffians and ne'er-do-wells. And of course, because all the ruffians and ne'er-do-wells were there to spend their money, it would bring in all the minstrels and the puppeteers and the jongleurs and all those folks too. So, very popular fair, full of ruffians. Fast forward to the 6th Earl of Chester, and he, during the fair time for some reason, decided to go on a little jaunt out to this castle that was on the Welsh border but had been controlled by English for a while. And he took a few guys with him and he's hanging out in his castle. And the Welsh noticed that he's kind of alone. So they get together, a bunch of guys, and they surround the castle and lay siege to it. And now the Earl is trapped in the castle by a bunch of Welsh. So he sneaks a messenger through the lines going back to Chester to get help. So the messenger goes back to Chester and says, "Town constable, the Earl is trapped. The Welsh have laid siege to his castle. We need your soldiers." And the town constable said, "My soldiers are all unbuttoned, as it were. They are all over the fair. They're in the taverns. They're who knows where. They're in no shape to fight. I don't have soldiers right now." So the constable says, "We still got to do something." So he goes up to his steward, Hugh, and he says, "Hugh Dutton, we got the situation. What do you think?" And Hugh says, "You know, we have a lot of people in town. We could take our wretched hive of scum and villainy on the road. Let's make a giant parade and go over there and scare off the Welsh." The constable says, "Well, I got no better ideas. Let's give it a go." So they did. They gathered together all these people from the fair. They got all of the trumpeters, they got the jugglers, they got the puppeteers, they got the ruffians, they got the dancers. And they made this giant parade and they marched towards the castle. And the Welsh saw in the distance this great horde of noisy people coming, and it worked. They thought it was some big organized army and they turned tail and fled. So this great bunch of people come up to the castle. "Hey, Earl, we got you saved! Woo!" So the Earl was suitably embarrassed, but he took it very well. And as a reward, he gave to the town constable the oversight of all the minstrels and puppeteers and shoemakers in town. And the constable, as a reward to Hugh Dutton, his steward, coming up with the idea, was to give him oversight of the minstrels and the puppeteers. And from that very day, for centuries, if you had a license from the minstrels oversighter of Chester, you were safe. Even in the Elizabethan times, when it was actually against the law to be a wandering minstrel, if you had a license from Hugh Dutton's family of Chester, you were covered. And even now, if you go there at a certain time of year, a whole bunch of folks dressed up like this, playing their medieval instruments, go marching through the town to get their licenses. So never underestimate the minstrel is your lesson of the day.
Very good.
Thank you very much.